You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. What's happening, folks? Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the Dangerous Liberty Podcast, where we all know the only thing more dangerous than liberty is the lack thereof. We got an awesome podcast for you tonight. We got a very special guest, somebody that I've been wanting to get on here a really long time. I will introduce him in just a second, but I just want to say for everybody now and in the future, welcome. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share this content, and we appreciate you showing up here. And, you know, again, we really put a lot of effort and time into making this podcast live so that we can interact with folks. So you're not just sitting there listening to us the whole time. And I think, especially when we have special guests like the one we have tonight, I think that is really going to pay off. And hopefully you enjoy it, because we want to hear from you as well. And I have a huge announcement, folks. We just hit 30,000 subscribers. So just a real special thanks to all our viewers, all our subscribers, all our clients, all our haters. You help us out too. All that good stuff. But been a good week this week. Chris, how was your week?
Good so far.
Awesome.
A little bit of crazy stuff going on in the personal life, but you know, I got a brand new shirt from the wife from my favorite movie. So,
did you have any car wrecks? Did you have to take your truck or
no? We went after a car wreck the other week.
Oh yeah, we did.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
yeah, folks. There was a
crazy.
So right after this podcast last week, we stepped out on our back porch. Both Chris and I had to pee, and literally less than 50 yards was a horrific car wreck. We were the first ones on the scene. We grabbed some trauma kits, went over there. Luckily the guy was okay for the most part. I don't know how. We actually, you know what, next week I'll give those pictures to Jason. He can post those.
Yeah.
The fact that the guy was able to walk away from that was absolutely nuts.
I mean, the steering wheel was that far from the seat.
Yeah, luckily
he pushed the firewall in.
He was jacked up on the inside.
I think there was some stuff he found out after.
Oh,
I think
I'm sure.
he was just too amped up to realize how bad he was hurt.
Summer, how was your week? Another
That's good.
wonderful week being married to me.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Another one
Gotta
in the
spoil
books.
her.
Let's see, 17 years times 52 weeks. What is that?
Are we doing dog years or what?
Dog years. Is that what it feels like?
It's a lot. It's a lot. Jason, how was your week?
Pretty good. I'm pretty sure I'm the special guest, right?
Anyways,
we missed the cricket button. I wish you had the cricket button.
Where's the sound effects, Jay? All right, folks. I want to get our special guest in here, and again, you know, this is a guy that I've been following for a long time. You know, when it comes to long range shooting, you know, he's obviously one of the world class, because he is a world champion, world class champion, F-class shooter, one of the nicest gun tubers on all of social media. And somebody I've been wanting to have here on a long time. We want to welcome Erik Cortina.
What's going on, guys?
Welcome, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. We really appreciate you coming on. Again, I'm kind of I don't know what the equivalent to a Swiftie is to a Cortina, but I'm a Cortina-y. big fan. And it's a big fan. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. It's a big thing to us. So thank you very much for making time for us small guys down here at the 30,000 level.
Come on, man.
No,
we all started at 0. You know that.
I know. No, but, you know, again, you know, I emailed you and you responded right away. I think this says a lot about who you are. And, you know, again, like I said, obviously I don't know you in person at a real personal level. But, again, I think you always come across as just one of the nicest guys, one of those guys that I'm pretty confident you exactly are who you are on camera as you are off. So, again, I'm just glad to have you on. I really am.
Well, thank you.
So, Erik, if you will, just kind of for those people, for like the one or two losers out there that don't know who you are, take a second to kind of introduce yourself to everybody.
I'm an F-class shooter. Been shooting F-class for about 15 years now. I pretty early on, I found me a pretty good mentor. He took me under his wing, and he taught me a lot really fast. And been shooting F-class for, like I said, 15 years. I joined the U.S. rifle team about 2 years after starting F-class, and just I don't know. When I jump in. So I went just full throttle,
That's scary
and
too.
and that's been the ride. I wanted to share my, whatever I was learning with others, and so I started a YouTube channel over a decade ago, and it's still going. But yeah, still here, man. Just making great friends. Just like you and I just met. We've never actually officially met, but yeah. I mean, just making friends and just growing the sport.
Yeah, man. Hopefully one of these days we can get you out this way. We'd love to have you out. But yeah, we'll definitely love to have you out. I just want to say hello to some of the folks out there: Jeff Hahn, Brent Phillips, Christian Clark, Scott Stefano, Jason would scroll. That would be great.
Oh, hey, how's it going? I'm here. Oh, it is. That's it. I'm at the bottom.
Okay. Chad Fry. Good. Hey, we want to welcome all you guys. We got our folks over on Rumble.
Yeah. Hey, Tea Party Descent. Thanks for chiming in here live finally. UFO for the hose.
Yep.
Jay definitely didn't pronounce that guy's name right.
No, he didn't do it right.
What, Tea Party Descent? What, Descended?
Sound it out.
UFO for the hose.
UFO for the hose.
Yeah, so folks, again, we hit 30,000 subscribers on this channel. I would definitely, you guys know the problems that I have with YouTube, and maybe we'll even get into that. I'd like to hear some of Erik's experience on YouTube and some of the things that go on there, but definitely need to push more people over to a platform that is much more freedom friendly and definitely friendly to the Second Amendment and the First Amendment. But it is what it is. I don't want to drag poor Erik into a bunch of politics tonight. I don't know where he stands on that.
Honor 114 is our staple over there, so he's been rocking since the first time.
So yeah, so Erik, again, with one of the things that I have planned on testing and checking out and just kind of seeing what works for me, and you're obviously you own, produce, and I'm assuming designed the EC tuner, and barrel tuning is definitely something that is very interesting to me. So if you will, just kind of let's jump in right there and let's talk a little bit about barrel tuning and what you're seeing as far as a difference and really how that became such a fairly prevalent addition to most rifles today.
Well, barrel tuning is obviously one of those things that need to be done in order to shoot as small as groups as possible. If we had no harmonics, all rifles would shoot extremely well, like any rifle. But of course they don't. So you have to tune them. And typically the way it's been done is in competition. Typically the competition shooters, we hand load and we tune the loads to the rifle. However, there's only so much you can do. It's and once you have the ammo loaded and you're at a competition and something changes, you're done. You're dead in the water. You can't change it. You can't pull the ammo apart and change it.
Sure.
The things that we would do is play around with seating depth and either get us more pressure, less pressure, whatever, just to see if we can kind of stay in the fight in a way. But tuners are also a way to adjust the harmonics on those barrels, and those you can do on the fly. You can. It's a simple device. It's a weight that it's threaded on the end of the barrel, and you can move it back and forth to make
Augment
those vibrations. The harmonics line up with your ammo to give you the best possible combination of pixie dust and all that good stuff to make your groups as small as possible.
Absolutely. So, do you feel like, well, let me ask you this. Are you loading as you tune? Are you adjusting your load with your tuner, or are you trying to tune the load, I guess?
So when I first started doing this, I would work up my load, powder charge, seating depth, and just get that load shooting as good as I could without ever touching the tuner. And then I would play around with the tuner and see if I could get it even smaller. I would get it as small as I could. Powder, primer, seating depth, neck tension. I mean, you name it. right? There's so
Right.
many variables. But I would do all that. And then right when I had the best load possible, I'd adjust the tuner, and then I would do a tuner test. And if I could get it smaller, then it was a win. And if I couldn't, well, at least it was already pretty good. Like it was really good. Typically, like the majority of the time, I could get it better. And that's where the tuners would help. You know, just squeeze a little bit more out of that load. And again, the biggest benefit, you know, that's one benefit, but the biggest one is we travel so much that sometimes it would shoot great here, Texas. You know, it's I don't know, 100 degrees. It's 100 degrees right now, and I tuned that load. It shoot amazingly well, and then all of a sudden I have to go to England, and it's 55 degrees. Drastic difference. And
Right.
you know, we're shooting at a 1 MOA target for 20 shots, so at 1,000 yards. Sounds big. 1 MOA sounds big, but it's quite small when you have to add the wind and everything else that goes with it. And on top of that, we're actually shooting at the half MOA. That's the one we're actually trying to hit. So if you have a gun that shoots more than 1 MOA, you're pretty much guaranteed you're going to lose, just because the competitions are so competitive. The shooters are so good. The guns are so good that if you don't have the absolute best, you're not going to have a very good fighting chance. Also, you know, the lower your vertical, right? The tighter your vertical. You know, if you have a gun that shoots, I don't know, 3 inches vertical, that it's a circle, right? It's wider in the middle. It is the widest. So you have more room for windage, for everything. So it gives you a big advantage.
You know, we were talking about this. So first of all, I know some of you guys are commenting about MOA versus Bell, and you know, when Erik jumped on here, he was joking like, "Holy crap! I didn't know I was getting into this." And we can talk about a little bit about that. But one of the things I was asking,
well, I don't know who this Erik with the C is. I know he's not talking to me.
It's Erik, folks. It's right there on the screen.
Literally.
He's definitely
Copy
a mill
and paste.
That is definitely a mill guy. You know, big numbers are not for Witchell. But, you know, I was asking him, you know, what kind of accuracy they're both seeing at 100 yards and at 1,000 yards. And Erik, if you will, just talk a little bit about that, because that's pretty phenomenal.
Precision. People get those two mixed up. So
Sure,
precision is how small the group you can
actual
shoot.
group is, yeah.
And so if it's shooting for 5 shots more than a quarter MOA, it's too big. It's you know, it needs to be lower than that, less than that. If I have a half MOA rifle at 100 yards, that barrel's coming off. It's not good enough. And again, right, because you're like I said, we're shooting at a half MOA. It's a 1 MOA target, but the X ring, which is the tiebreaker, is half MOA. So that's on my goal is on a perfect day when everything lines up, and if I'm ever presented the opportunity to break a world record, which is at the moment 22 shots in a half MOA circle at 1,000 yards. If I ever get presented that opportunity, I want to be able to break that record. So I want to have a half MOA gun at 1,000 yards in ideal conditions, right? That's the key word right there, ideal conditions. But that's the deal, right? So if you have a half MOA gun at 100, well, you're not going to do, you know, if the opportunity is presented, I'm still going to not be able to do it. So, you know, that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So typically you guys are seeing a 3 to 5 inch shot group at 1,000 yards. That's what you're going for the most part.
Well, we do 20 shots in F class.
Okay. Yep.
15 or 20 depending on the competition. But when I tune, I do 5-shot groups to kind of zero in on the kind of the load what I'm looking for. And once I kind of find the window that looks pretty good, then I start shooting practice matches, which are 20 shots. You know, I might do 17 shots, 2 siders and 15 for record, and actually start shooting matches in practice. And I want to make sure that I can clean that target. Again, I go out in the morning when it's calm, and I should have no problem shooting perfect scores. If I'm if I'm trying to shoot perfect scores and it's dead calm and I can't, that load is no good to me. Or if I'm getting flyers, then maybe the brass, maybe primers. There's so many variables, but I'm going to sort all that out so that, the first matches in the mornings are usually pretty calm at competitions. So you need to be shooting perfect scores. If you're falling behind in the calm, you're going to fall behind in the wind.
Yeah. No, that's phenomenal. And that's definitely something that people, I think, don't understand is just because that you can shoot, let's say, a half-inch group, your gun does a half-inch group at 100, going even in perfect conditions, all of those micro variables that you guys definitely spend a lot more time on hashing out, between. And I actually was listening to, the point is you can't expect, your gun's not going to shoot a half-inch or a half MOA group at 500 or 1,000. Those different variables definitely start to come into play, and that's one of the things that I'm fascinated with, how F-class shooters approach shooting and the equipment that they use and all the things that you guys do, because it really is, man, it's a very meticulous art. And just talking to, we were talking about Coven, a friend of mine that that has been shooting F-class for a really long time. Just talking to him and kind of picking his brain of how he reloads and the things that he does, is pretty nuts. And I was just recently, or I was watching a podcast that you were on recently talking about bullet sorting and those things, and how essentially the variables between good bullet manufacturing and things like that have gone down, and you don't spend as much time in that. When it comes to reloading, what do you think is kind of the thing that you spend the most amount of time on, or the thing that you look at the most because it causes the biggest variability in your rounds?
Well, there's 3 Bs that you need to handle: brass, barrels, and bullets, right? So the barrel, it's on the gun. It's a good one. It's chambered by me. I know everything's good because I made sure. That's done. Then that leaves brass and bullets. And both of those need to be as consistent as possible. This is the way I look at it. You need to pretend as if you're shooting the exact same round over and over and over and over to expect the exact same behavior, right? If it's the definition of insanity, but backwards, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
There's a
correct.
fine line between extreme consistency and insanity. I think you're
exactly. Right. It's like I want the exact same result shot after shot, and the only way that I can expect that is if every round is as close to the previous one as possible, right? So the brass needs to be very consistent. Good thing about it is there's very good brass manufacturers out there. Lapua, when I started, my mentor, I said, somebody took me under their wing. Mike told me, because I was asking all these questions, right? And he says, listen, if Lapua doesn't make brass for it, don't chamber the barrel for that round. That's number one. And that's been true until today, And those, just full disclosure, I am sponsored by Lapua now, but I wasn't then. I shot Lapua for a very long time before somebody jumps on and said, of course it's going to say that. No, it's been true.
I heard you just started wearing Lapua gear all the time at matches, and eventually they're like, all right, we're going to start actually sponsoring.
Right. So that's the brass, right? But I still neck turn that brass. Right? Because I want to make sure the neck tension is as consistent as possible. So that's the brass. Lapua does a really good job at making really good brass. Now, bullets. We sort them. We measure every which way that bullet can be measured. And only by doing that do we know which manufacturers make the best bullets, and also what does not need to be sorted anymore. For example, I'm going to talk about Burger bullets because that's what I use. I'd measure Burger bullets. I weight sort them, and it's like I would get a variance. Don't get me wrong, and I don't remember what the variance was. The point is, I would take the light ones and the heavy ones and shoot them at 1,000 yards. And they go into the same group. And I go, okay, this variance, all that variance that I found in 2,000-3,000 bullets, it's not enough to matter. So I don't need to sort anymore. Okay. So I was able to eliminate that process. But I did it only to test it and either eliminate it or add it to the process. I found out it did not need to be done. Awesome. I don't need to do that. That's not true for every manufacturer, but it is for burgers. Okay. Done. What else? Well, base to ogive. All right. I'm going to measure these things. Again, there is a variance, and I would shoot the short ones versus the long ones, 1,000 yards. And this is all done on a gun that had already been tuned as good as possible.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, now let's test the bullets. Go out. Sure enough, no difference. Great. I don't have to sort that anymore. Again, that is only on the burgers. Other manufacturers, you need to listen. We can talk for 3 hours, and the bottom line is going to be you got to test for yourself. This is what I do. This is what I found. But this is not true for everything out there. Okay. It is true for what I am using in my guns. Okay. There's all the disclaimers. Okay. So it didn't matter. Okay. I don't sort base to ogive anymore. Awesome. Base to tip. Big variance. Okay. Let's shoot the short ones versus the long ones. Boom. There's a difference on target. I got to sort this. Right. And this is how you kind of figure out what needs to be done. So then we would sort
a
them.
real extensive process of elimination that you're going through. Yeah.
And then you're either going to eliminate the flyers or the flyers are going to eliminate you from the championship. So elimination is going to happen. You decide which one you want. So I'd rather eliminate the flyers before I show up to the match.
So, Eric, I have a quick question. In your process of elimination, so when you decide you don't need to measure base to ogive anymore because that didn't make a difference, do you ever go back every few batches of those same burger bullets and remeasure that, or you just call burgers good and from here on out I'm buying burgers?
I retest. I will remeasure and retest. And I did that over multiple batches that it didn't matter. Now, and then it works the other way too, right? So I'm like, okay, that has been eliminated. And all of a sudden, if I get a batch, luckily it hasn't happened, but if I get a batch that all of a sudden what I typically do doesn't work, then I go back and I gotta find the problem. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, but base to tip, big variance. It mattered on target. Okay. Well, now I got to shoot these. I got to sort them and shoot them, successively, one after the other, lengthwise. You don't have to throw them out. You just, you start with the short ones and work your way to the long ones, or vice versa. It doesn't matter as long as you're not shooting a long and a short one next to each other. It doesn't matter. I mean, even if it changes one MOA on target over 1,000 rounds, I mean, you can just click your way, right? It's not going to be enough in 20 shots to send you outside the 10 ring. So that's how I do it. Well, okay. Well, the BC now I'm sorting them, but the groups are bigger than I want them to be. They're acceptable, but can we get them smaller? Well, let's try bullet pointing. Try bullet pointing. Well, did it get better or worse? Well, it got better. All right. Well, I guess now we're doing bullet pointing. Well, how much bullet pointing? Well, I don't know. Got to test that. So you see where this is going.
Now, bullet pointing for me, I don't know that term. I'm not been through multiple sniper courses. Again, just a military sniper. I don't know that term, bullet pointing. What is that?
You point the bullets. You make them pointier.
Okay.
There's a die, Jay, that actually basically it conforms the tip of that bullet so that the idea is that we're getting consistency on that on the tips, so that everything's consistent.
All right.
And what's interesting is so many people chase BCs, but the fact of the matter is I completely agree with you. I'd rather make sure that every single one is predictable and comparable and consistent, as opposed to adding a couple of decimal points onto my BC. So that's interesting. One thing
Consistent
you
BC, consistent BC is better than high BC.
100% agree. It's definitely more predictable. One thing I heard you say in a podcast that blew my mind was that you do not clean brass.
Nope. Again, tested everything, right?
Yeah.
And one day, that takes so long, and
it does.
And I'm not talking about how long it takes to actually clean the brass, the entire process, because you gotta clean the brass, then you have to dry the brass. Well, forget that, right? Like I tried tumbling it in dry media, I tried tumbling in wet media, I tried ultrasonic. Trust me, I tried everything. And yeah,
I
it's
go
like
to your garage sales. That's what I want.
And I, with stainless media, tumbling media, I would only run the brass 15-20 minutes, just enough to get the lube off and slightly clean it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, but it's not 15 minutes because you got to take the brass over there, put it in there, add the water, add the soap, the Let Me Shine, all the crap, close the lid, and that's going to take you 10-15 minutes. Then you run it for 20 minutes. Now you're at 35. Now you're going to spend another 15 minutes getting the brass out of there, right? Getting all the media out of the brass.
The metal media.
Yeah.
Stainless media.
You're done with that. Then another
sucks.
another 10 minutes cleaning the freaking water off the countertop that I dropped because it's always happening. And then you got to dry the brass. So now it only takes 15 minutes. No, it doesn't. It takes hours.
Right.
And when I'm out here, I work construction. I was out here at Friday night at 10 p.m. trying to get loaded so I can go to the match the next day or Saturday night. I'm like, man, those are 2 hours that I don't have. Well, screw it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me do a test. So I did a test and no difference. I'm like, and the bullets actually seated smoother because they had a slight layer of carbon on the necks.
Right. Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
I'm like, man, okay, this is the new thing. And I'm going to see how long it takes for it to matter. Why burn up? I destroyed that brass and it never mattered. And I thought, this is awesome. I just saved myself 2 hours every time I reload brass. Right. And if you reload that brass 10 times, that's 20 hours. That's enough to buy new brass.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Eric, you were with sorry to interrupt. This whole process and everything you do to develop your loads and reload sounds so time consuming. So to hear you say you want to save 2 hours, it makes it seem like maybe it's not as time consuming as it sounds in my mind. And you said you work a construction job. On average, how long do you spend each week developing loads, testing loads, reloading?
well, it's not as much anymore because, again, I already eliminated all the stuff that doesn't matter. Right. At the beginning, I just didn't know. So I had to test everything. Now, there's multiple ways you can go about it. You can go and listen to somebody and then go, okay, he said to do this and just do that. And it's great. That's a great way to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it doesn't work. And then you have no idea what to do.
Mm-hmm.
The approach I took is they tell me, hey, do this. And I do it and it worked. And then I go, let me see how far I can push it this way and that way. I want to see how big this window is, right? So I would do that. So I would hours and hours. It was stupid. The amount of time I would spend doing that. But now it's gotten to the point where I don't even change my seating depth anymore because I will develop a reamer and I would do all my testing and everything. And now it's like, okay, I know what the seating depth is for that barrel with that bullet, with this brass powder, primer, everything, right? So it's fairly simple. But for it to be simple, I had to do all the learning and all the
Work
testing
ahead of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one of the questions that keeps coming up, and I'm curious too, is what bullets are you using? You're mainly using hybrid targets, or?
Yeah, the 180 hybrids for my 7mm. For my 6mm, I use the 6. You can't almost go wrong. You can use the 105s, the 108s, or the 109s burgers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the most consistent is the 108s, and I love those 108s. The BC's lower, but they're to me they're the most consistent 6mm bullet.
Sure. What typically, like you said, you're basically tossing those barrels out, which, by the way, anytime you want to get rid of a barrel that's only shooting half of them away, you can send it my way.
They turn into tuners.
I'll pay shipping for it. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, you're just turning the barrels into tuners. That makes sense. What type of barrel life are you typically getting out of? And I'm assuming you're primarily shooting 7mm for F class.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I shoot nowadays. It's tough. It's been many years since I've burned out a barrel. Since I shot it until it quit shooting, because it's no different than tires on my truck, right? Like, yeah, I could probably get another 10,000 miles out of them, but I'm about to go on a vacation with my family. I know the vacation, the entire thing's probably gonna be 5,000 miles, but I'm just gonna go ahead and put brand new tires on it right now. I treat barrels the same way. Like I got back from South Africa World Championship, and I'm thinking, okay, this barrel's got, I think it had 1,300 rounds when I got back, and I thought, man, I think I can get another 500, maybe make it all the way to 2,000, but I have the V squared finale. I'm going to London. I got nationals. I need to start working on new barrels, right? So I just pulled it off, and that's it. That's the end of that barrel. So I'm gonna say 1,500 to 2,000 is a pretty good estimate for barrel life, but sometimes I pull them like that one, 1,300, and it just won me Southwest Nationals. It won me South African Nationals, and it was one of the guns on the World Championship team. Got World Championship, but it's I got my money's worth out of that one for sure. Pull it.
And with an F class rifle, shooting 7, what actual chambering are you shooting on that? 7 PRCs?
Well, it's a PRC-W. It's a 6.5 PRC necked up to 7mm.
Okay.
And the W is for Alex Wheeler. He's the one that designed it.
Nice. And typically how heavy are those F class guns? And
the maximum weight is 22 pounds. 22 pounds. So that's the limit. So they're usually 21 and 15 ounces.
Right? 15.5.
Or if you're Brian Bowling, it's 22 pounds exactly. At the World Championship, he was overweight, and we use a rain shield. Like, you're allowed to have a rain gear, we call it, but anything that's attached to the rifle counts towards the weight of the rifle. Well, here we hardly ever have to worry about rain, so we just weigh the rifle and we make weight. Well, then now we're in South Africa, and you're at a World Championship, and you're like, oh crap, I better use my rain shield, and it's just clear plastic, just about 2 yards of it square.
Right.
Well, then you go to put it on there, all of a sudden you're overweight, right? So I had to do the same thing. We're sitting there with scissors, trimming a little plastic at a time and putting it on the scale. Trim a little more, put it on the scale. Because you don't want to get the plastic too small. So we trimmed a little at a time until I think I got mine to 21 and 15 ounces, and his was dead on at 22. And they said, okay, that's enough. Good enough. Because we're holding up the line, right? But typically you want to be about 21 and a half, just so you don't run into those issues.
Sure. Give you a little fudge room there. Yeah, I've been for those of you that haven't seen it, you should definitely go check it out. It's a great show, and you want to get more of Erik Cortina. Is the Rock Chuck Olympics over there on Gavin Tube, man? They got some well produced videos over there, and they're highly entertaining. So you guys need to go check those out. But I was watching the one the other day where you guys were shooting 6.5 Creedmoor 6 arc, and I believe it was an AR. I think it was about 1,100 yard target.
1290.
1290.
Yeah.
1290.
Get it right, Gary.
Sorry, 1290. 1290. I'll remember that.
Well, those 190 yards really matter when you're past
Sure.
1100.
100%. Yeah, I mean, even 6 arc, that's probably going transonic right about there, isn't it?
I think it was before that. But we made impacts with that thing with a 6 arc at 1290.
That was the gun that everybody was making impacts with. That was what was surprising.
We're calling that the Gavintina because Gavin built it and they had one of my tuner brakes on there. So he was actually shooting factory ammunition that he tuned with my barrel tuner, my tuner brake.
Huh.
And we're making impacts at 1290 with that thing.
That was amazing.
Amazing.
I was sad to see nobody got lucky and hit the gopher out there with the AR. That's the one I was hoping I'd see with that.
We hit the berm every time.
Yeah. It hit something.
Consistency, buddy.
Yep.
Consistency.
You hit the earth every single time. That was amazing. No, that's quite the production that they put on over there. How long were you guys doing an all-in-one shoot? How long was that whole thing? Were you up there for?
I showed up on a Monday and I left Friday morning. So four full days.
Nice.
The first day, just kind of get all the rifles and all the ARs, C-Road and mount scopes and all that. I helped Gavin with that. And then, that was on a Monday. Tuesday, we all did classes. We all, not everybody, but most of us taught classes. Like I taught, I talked about tuning and wind reading and mirage reading and all that stuff. Something that could help the other competitors, right?
Sure.
Nils talked about pistol handling and all that good stuff. Peter Milan talked about PRS and prop shooting and positional shooting. And so we did that all day, Tuesday. And then we competed Wednesday and Thursday.
Nice. Yeah, no, that looked, where's he at? He's in like Oregon?
Washington State.
Washington State. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That is a nice area out there. Yeah. You guys were shooting that target over a huge draw.
Oh,
and, I can't even imagine what the wind was doing between you and the target. So that it was, do you remember what kind of windage you guys were holding on that?
I hit at 2 mils.
Okay.
And it was a pretty dead day. Yeah, it was pretty dead that day. Actually, it was so everybody's there like, oh man, it's fierce. And I reach into my pocket and I pull out my Kestrel, and they're like, are we allowed to have Kestrels? I'm like, unless they take it away from me, I am. But I was only picking up about 3 miles there where we were. But there was obviously more downrange. But
sure,
the previous day it had been up around 20, and I thought,
wow,
this is already a pretty tough shot. And if it's 15 to 20 miles, number one, how are you ever going to see your misses, right? But anyway,
yeah.
It was pretty good.
No, it looked like a lot of fun, and it looked like you guys put a lot of work into that because it was, like I said, it was quite the production.
Let me ask you a question. Are they hitting the like button? Because my center punchers, if they are coming from my channel, I call them the center punchers because that's what we do.
Nice.
I know they've been hitting the like button, but I hope your guys are doing the same, your viewers.
Yeah, hopefully you guys are hitting the like button. Make sure you do that. I'll tell you, it shows up weird on here. We'll see a lot more likes, and then those likes from the live, I think, kind of go away, to be honest with you. And then they kind of start over when it goes, it's being put up on there for infinity. So,
either way.
But hit the like button, guys.
That means if that's true, that means they get to hit it twice.
Exactly.
Once during the live stream, and then again when they watch it on YouTube.
Go back and hit like on everybody's videos.
Yeah.
If you support the Second Amendment, go support every gun tuber out there, whether you like them or not, whether they say something you don't like or not, or anything else. And that's one thing. Even going back to my video of the MOS sucks, which is definitely a click. MOA sucks.
He doesn't even know what it stands for.
I don't know. It's military occupation. you know, I always approach, number one, when I think about how people disagree with things on gun stuff, I would definitely say, folks, we got to get out of this idea of shooting's not a religion. And I said that in one of the videos. Like, it's okay if we disagree. Matter of fact, the people that I like the most, I disagree with the most. Ask Jay.
Yeah, I'm right here for you, buddy.
Ask Summer. Get on there. Don't get your feelings hurt if somebody disagrees, or I say something, or Eric, or anybody else. We same team, have some fun with it, argue about it. We give you, folks, I'm going to give you plenty of stuff to argue about. So, you like arguing, you do, folks. So jump on there, argue, and be good spirited about it. Because I know
some people are not good spirited about it.
Yeah, it almost trips me out the way that people get so tribal or so emotional about whether or not Gary says or the fact that Gary doesn't say he likes MOA just as much as Mil. And if you like MOA and it works for you, keep doing it. Eric was talking about how he was getting into PRS before the show. We were talking a little bit about that, and everybody was like, "You got to go Mil. You got to go Mil." And with somebody, I would have told him the opposite, because he knows MOA. That's what he shoots with F class. And if you know it and you've been using it, continue to use it. I don't think, and again, just like I said at the beginning of those videos, folks, I'm not trying to get people to switch. All right. If you want to switch, that's fine. But what I am saying is that there's a reason that there's so many Mil versus MOA videos out there. And it's because there's a lot of people out there that are interested in getting into long range shooting, and they don't know which one. And you can present a video and say, hey, here's this one or here's this one. It really doesn't matter. Well, number one, I don't really feel that way. So that's not even an honest approach. I do feel that Mil is easier. I do feel that, watching people and training people for as long as I have, I think I see a lot less mistakes, and I think it makes sense for the average shooter. But, again, whether you like one or the other, like it. But those are for people that are undecided, and I'm trying to bring them over to my camp because I genuinely feel I don't have what I always like is, and I'm sure you've had this too, Eric, where, people, ascribe some sort of like agenda, that you, just because you have an opinion on something that you've been doing. And that's what always irritates me is if I get a little emotional in the comments, it's like, oh, you're just trying to make money by getting people to switch to Mil. Like, I don't work for the Mil industry.
Have you figured
The
out
Mil
how to monetize
patent.
that yet?
No doubt.
You got the Mil patent.
Jump on that.
Yeah, I'm just giving you my opinion and my observations. And you know what? I could be wrong and you could be wrong. It's okay.
Well, typically,
Generally,
I approach it a different way. You said, if bring what you've been using. I actually look at it the other way. I was, in F class, bench rest, all those sports, MOA scopes are the norm, second focal plane. Because you get the magnification with the fine crosshair.
Right.
But if I'm going to PRS and that's the norm, then that's what I'm going to get, and I'm going to learn how to use it. Right.
Sure.
Because like I was saying, that's the blueprint. I look at what the winners are doing. That's a blueprint that you can copy. And if you copy that blueprint exactly and you can't make it work, then it's you. Then you need to work on you. Right. But once you can make it work, you should be able to make it work, because that's what everybody else is doing. Right.
Yeah.
Then you have to isolate yourself as the issue from the get-go. And the easiest way for me to do that is to copy exactly what they're doing. So when I started shooting PRS, I went immediately to a Mil scope. I didn't know Mils, but I said, well, it can't be that hard. And it's not, right?
Not, no.
I mean, so I started shooting that. Plus my friend said, you got to get a Mil scope. I said, okay, I'll get a Mil scope. And they're like, don't you dare bring one of them MOA scopes around here. They're going to make fun of you. Everything here is Mils. Everything's Mil. And, I said, okay, got it. So I go buy me a Mil scope, and I show up to the first match, and I'm there. I'm the, I got a little bit more of a target on my back, because I'm the F class shooter, and these guys are going, this guy ain't shit. Let's see. You know how it is. So, but I'm like, I can't make a total ass out of myself. But it's okay. You know, I'm always of the belief that you either win or you learn. And I wasn't going to win, so I was there to learn.
Sure.
And you know, I've been told mill. Perfect. Got it. And then I'm there with my little matchbook and I'm making notes. And I said, hey, how big is that target over there? Oh, it's pretty big. It's about 2 MOA. What the hell? I thought you guys said mill. Everything mill. Why are we shooting at MOA targets? They're like, well, the targets are MOA. The scopes are mill. And I'm like,
you know what? I am all about getting rid of every.
But you have to understand what I'm saying. They're all.
No, I do.
They're all. Oh, we're mill. But the targets are MOA. But anyway, again, I got a mill scope and I learned how to use it. It's not that hard, right? But for that sport, I believe it is the best tool for the job. Can you make an MOA scope work? Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. Is it easier with a mill scope? Yes. Now, those that are wondering why, well, case in point, I went to Rifles Only. I shot a club match there, and we had a troop line, and we had to shoot from 300 all the way to 1,000, 2 shots each, 90 seconds. With my 6BR, I had to go from like 3 mils or so up to 8. So I only, and my turret does 15 per revolution. So I was only playing with half a revolution on my turret. Yeah. Where some of my guys had MOA scopes, they're going 2 full revolutions on that thing, you know? Yeah. So when you only had 90 seconds.
To mechanically adjust the same amount, that crazy thing that a lot of people don't understand is, you know, if you're going 8 on 6.5, it's about 28 MOA. So, you know, all I need to do is go to 8. If you're shooting 1,000 is about 8 mils, and that's 28 MOA. So, and that's one of the biggest points that I make. And obviously, when you're having to do those revolutions, if you're dialing or holding, it's just easier to make mistakes. It just is. And like you said,
it's coarser, right? It's a coarser adjustment, which is precisely what makes it not good for target shooting.
100%.
Because you're trying to, you have a half MOA target and you're trying to get that in the center. And if you have a half MOA target and you're going 0.36 clicks, well, you're too high or too low. You're never 100%. Centered. And that's where plus the crosshair is massive, right? So yeah, I would not bring a mill scope to a target shoot. And people have done it. Come on, bring it. Run what you brung. But if you're going to stick with it, I would suggest that you get what the others are shooting, you know, and that's it.
Conversely to that point, it's also, you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of equipment to get started, and don't let, and that's something you and I talked a little bit about too, is like, and I agree with that 100%, don't think that you got to get everything perfect to go out and learn to shoot. Come take a course with us or somebody else that's reputable, so that you can come figure out. And that's one of the things I tell people is we get a lot of people that come to the channel and end up coming to our courses. And, we've had, and they want to learn to shoot. They don't know the first thing about long range shooting. They got, that something tickled them. And they wanted to get into long range shooting. Folks, I've had people show up to our courses where they spent $12,000 on a bunch of stuff that they bought, not knowing the first thing. And then they get there, and then halfway through the PowerPoint where we're talking about, everything from what makes a good scope, accuracy for a rifle, and how to buy right, not necessarily the most expensive. You can, they're like, oh man, I wasted a bunch of money. I got this wrong or this wrong. So, go to some of those matches or go take a course, like us, we provide all the equipment, or we can. And I'd rather you do that for lots of reasons. The main reason is selfish. So I'm not sitting there troubleshooting your equipment while you could be learning. I know our guns are good to go, but you can learn what works for you. And also maybe I put you on a gun that you don't like, and we can also switch that around. But
yeah, and you're making the mill money too.
Yeah, and converting you
all the mill money.
Converting you to the cult of the Millenite.
There it is.
That's exactly that's a perfect analogy. She was asking me earlier about the time of reloading and all that. That's the same thing with equipment. at first I had to do it all because nobody gave me that solution. Right now, I tell them, they're like, "Hey, what do you do here? What should I do?" I said, "Dude, literally the best thing I can tell you is go join my forum. Go to my website, shootsmallgroups.com, join my forum, $15 a month. I have all those videos, like all that load development that I talked about. I do it. All you have to do is watch the video for 30 minutes. And now you know, and now like, here's like, I'm doing all the work for you. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can watch all these videos. You can literally subscribe for a month if you want. Put in the time watching all the testing I've done, and then you can see what's going to work for you, and you can just zero in on what's going to work for you. Same thing with equipment. I can go out, if I'm starting out, I can go buy a bunch of crap, which is what a lot of people do.
Sure.
Oh my
Or
God, yeah.
they can come to you and copy your blueprint. This is precisely what I've been talking about. You're like, listen, this is the blueprint. Like my guys that went with me to that match at Rifles Only, and I get there and I go, "You guys don't have mag pouches?" "No, I'll just carry the mag in my pocket." I said, "Okay, you can do that." Well, 90 seconds there, and there was a lot of mag changes. Well, towards the end, they go into pro shop and they get the mag holders, right?
Yep.
They go in your belt but I'm like, you need that. Well, what about that? No, you don't need that. What about that? You don't need that. You need a sling. Yeah, you need a sling. But all these things that, again, you already have the blueprint, and that's the best thing anybody can do is come to someone like you and copy your blueprint, and then just because if they can't shoot, they know it's them.
Yeah.
They can't blame the rifle. They can't blame the scope. They can't blame anything because you've already proven it, and that is super valuable. Most people don't realize it, how valuable that is.
No, go ahead, baby.
Well, I was just going to say, this kind of leads into a question I saw earlier, and one that I had as well, is for an F-class shooter to kind of come in and be competitive equipment-wise, what are you kind of looking at an estimate for like a rifle package?
Well, there's multiple ways to go about it.
Is a good question or not?
It is a good question because I've been wondering that the whole time.
I hate those questions.
So
When people ask me, like, if I get a low ratio, how much does it cost?
At
like,
what
well,
level?
It depends.
I said an estimate.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like at what level, right?
Yeah, it's
At
like
club match level.
It'll get you there, A to B.
Club match level, you can buy an off the shelf rifle. You can do pretty good, right? But if you're going to be shooting at my level, which I'm talking going to world championships, and it also matters what
you
you're
want
trying
people
to do.
carrying you in a chair on their shoulders. What amount of money do we need to invest?
Well, the rifle's the cheap part. That's the good news.
The travel,
The bad news is the
ammo.
rifles are still very expensive.
Yeah.
But there's three types of shooters. There's those that prepare to shoot matches. That's it. If that's you can bring any rifle. You're going to go, you're going to shoot, you're going to have fun, you're going to meet a lot of people, you're going to learn a lot. But if your entire goal was to shoot matches, that's it. You got it. You can go in pretty cheap, right? Those are the ones that just social shooters, right? Then there's the ones that are trying to compete. Like I want to do well, right? They're gonna have better equipment. They're gonna spend more money. They're gonna spend more time in the reloading room, or you name it. They're gonna buy hardware that gets them a better chance, and software, which is a training to use that hardware to use it better, right? And the third one is those that prepare to win. Like nothing else is good enough. Like the second one, they prepare to compete. If they get a top 10 finish, they're super happy, right? They prepare to win. If you're not getting first place, you failed, right? That gets very expensive.
But
it's the same equipment.
I was about to say, Gary's always wanted to be first.
Yeah, but it's the same equipment on the first two. But I'm gonna say, like my rifle, you're gonna be all in $7-8 grand. Depending on the optics. Yeah. It's no different than a PRS rifle.
Sure.
Chris, 7-8 grand. That's it. You in?
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, I think it's well.
I'm about to.
I think the reality is,
Well, you know, the scope's gonna be 3 of that, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
if you want a beater,
MOA scope.
Oh, 1,000 pardons, Gary.
They print
Well,
money
hey,
every
hey,
day.
they're MOA scopes. They're cheaper.
They're MOAs. That's right.
they are for
You
they
know-
are second full.
They don't have the
have the
mill
mill money.
surcharge.
That upcharge on Mel.
They don't have big mill behind them.
That's what it is, exactly.
No, you know, and the reality is people get into this mindset where they do want to go all in right off the bat. There's some of those folks, and I see that, you know, just people again. Well, of course, but
It's the cheaper route.
you need to you're going to go through equipment no matter what. Like, you know, there's so many people that call me with you know, they're wringing their hands over this rifle. I'm like, look, bro, let's be real. This is not the last rifle that you're buying.
True.
You know,
You're not
it's
wrong.
So you're going to go through equipment. So get what you can get and get started, and just see. If chances are you're probably like 90% where you're going to do this for 6 months, and then you're going to not do it anymore because
But,
So you might as
but
well
the other thing,
Might as well buy
which,
the best one off the rip.
but the best other thing, which Eric
I'm
just
saying the opposite actually.
I'm not.
Well-
Gary, why are you going against everything
sorry.
I've
yeah.
ever seen
Well-
out of you?
Because Big Bill pays me now, so I don't need to sell
All right.
equipment anymore.
All right.
Well, I was just going to say, and it goes back to what Eric just alluded to too, is you're always saying buy once, cry once.
100%.
And Eric alluded to that as well. And when he said, you know, buying the best equipment right off the bat ends up cheaper in the long run.
Best quality equipment, not
Yeah.
necessarily the most. But the thing is like you need enough experience
To know what
to
that
even
is.
know what that is.
Yeah.
And
Which is why you follow
also-
his blueprint.
And you also like need to know that that's what you want to pursue, right? So
Right.
like do I tell, you know, most people that come in, they're like, all right, Gary, you know, I want to do this. I'm like, you've never shot long range at all. You don't know what you want to do.
So come
So
to a class.
Come to a class,
Right.
see what works, and then, you know, start off with like a freaking Arkin scope, you know, that like, you know, that's
Yeah.
$500. See if that works for you. I do want to sell you an MP rifle because I do think that is a good investment. But besides that, you know, like you have a good rifle, you have an optic that is going to perform well for a low price. And then later on, if you are good enough and you have enough experience to see the difference, yeah, sure, swing for the fences and get you a Night Force or a Zero Compromise or whatever. But, you know, make sure that this is something that you want to pursue. And that's really what it comes down to.
So this
James
is
King,
one thing
brings
that I
up a
always
good
ask
point.
them. Sorry about that. Sorry.
That's
Go ahead.
What
He
I always
brings up a
ask
good point.
is,
If you expensive rifle, you get your money back quick if you quit.
That's
yes,
true.
it's true. So what's the most expensive? I'm going to ask you guys, what's the most expensive thing you will ever buy in shooting?
Oh, and shooting.
Oh,
I was
and
going to say
shooting.
my
I was
wife.
going to say some other things.
What's,
Most
you know,
expensive thing that I'll ever buy in shooting.
yeah, what's most of your money going to go towards?
Your optic.
I mean,
I'd say bullets.
That's what I was going to go
Should
with.
be-
Ammo.
over the long. I mean, it depends on what you're talking about. An initial purchase over the long run.
Shoot
Yeah.
a lot.
So
No, I mean,
ammo's-
total, all in.
Are you excluding ammo or you're including ammo? Because definitely,
Do you
ammo
have
is
to?
most
Do you have to buy it?
Of course.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
then count it. That's it. It's bullets.
Then ammo.
It's
Yeah, it's
bullet,
ammo.
So that's my point. That's going to be where most of your money's going to go. That's why I don't want to waste it by shooting it through an inferior platform.
Oh, that's a good point.
Now, the cheapest. Now let's talk about the cheap. She said optics. That's one of the cheapest because you go buy a scope for $3,500, $4,000. You use it for a year or two. You sell it for $500 less.
Yeah.
It costs you $500
Mhm.
bucks. Way cheaper than bullets.
Mhm.
Now you buy an action. You use it for 10 years, 5 years. Forget 10 years, 5 years. You get more money out of it than you paid for it when you bought it.
Yep.
Or at least the same because they keep going up in price. So that action was free to use. Right? And most people don't think about it that way. Now, if you go get yourself a Remington 700 and then you go pay a gunsmith to true it up and all that, now you're just throwing money away.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
100%.
buy good equipment. You know, I've done this. I've sold actions that I bought 10 years ago, and I got more money out of them than when I bought them. Scopes, same way. So those things are
Eric, this is
damn near
exactly
free.
what I've been trying to tell my wife. Like, these are all
I mean,
investments.
it's investment.
It's an
opportunity.
investment.
This
opportunity.
is investment in the future.
He doesn't just apply this to guns though all the time.
No, he applies it to his life.
First of all,
Jay.
Jason, right now you're being a man trader, and I don't.
need to unplug his mic.
I
back
don't
I mean,
there.
it's like what I used to do with designer purses. I would like a nice.
That's
Yeah,
not-
no, that's different.
That's not. That's,
That's different.
Yeah,
That's different.
No.
I would buy it. I would use it for a year and sell it for more than I paid for it.
It's
kind of the same.
No,
Kind of the same.
Yeah, we don't understand that. We don't have enough time for us to understand that.
No.
oh man, yeah. The Chris, you've been quiet tonight. What's
Oh,
going
y'all
on?
are blowing my mind.
Oh, that guy
Over here
can
like
talk.
Yeah. Sir Eric, if you didn't know, I'm kind of the resident redneck shooter over here. I've been growing up around guns and stuff
He
like
mainly does West Virginia celebratory fire.
that. Yeah, from my desk or from my back porch. So
From my
I've just been soaking it up. It's actually I watched Gary's video on MOA and Mill, and that opened me up. I've never had MOA ever. I am the back porch deer shooter with granddad's 30-06 and my 3x9x40 Tasco. Yeah, absolutely. It shoots through to 100, 150 yards all the time. So it's just broadening my horizon.
Hey,
just
it's
listening
the
tonight.
right equipment for the right job, and that's
Correct.
And that, folks, that's all the argument you'll ever hear me say. And if you're watching my channel and you're wanting my opinion, so you're going to get my opinion. And if you don't like it, that's okay. We can still be friends. You don't have to get
Sometimes.
you don't have to get hurt in the feels. It's okay.
I just come here to argue with you.
I know.
I just want to watch.
Must suck always losing.
Oh,
So I figured you get tired of losing at some point, Jay. Eric, when do you get when do you ever get out to the East Coast?
Oh,
Never.
okay.
Don't be scared.
No, I'm
We're just in
laughing.
Virginia.
I'm laughing because we went to Finger, Tennessee, to K&M a few years back.
Yep.
And we're driving out there, and my buddy, he was with me, and he said his wife called him, and she works in the school system, right? And he's talking about how, we're almost to the East Coast. And she goes, well, I thought you guys were going to Tennessee. And he goes, well, yeah, we are. And she goes, where the hell do you think Tennessee is? so that's the insight. That's why I laugh when you ask if I've been to the East Coast. I'm like, according to my buddy, I have. But
Gotcha.
I don't get out
We're
there
going
much.
to visit those East Coast
Yeah,
liberals. there in
we went
Nashville.
over the Mississippi, so we're East Coast now, baby.
Yeah, that's but anyway, I don't get out there much. Tennessee is as far as I've kind of gotten.
Nice. Yeah, actually, I was the only time I've been out to rifles only. I was down there. My sniper team. Matter of fact, Coven was with me. We went down there in 2004, and that it was a great facility. Then I can't even imagine. I've seen some videos and stuff like that, but I'd love to get back out there. So I'm sure they've really built that place up.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, that's where I shot my first PRS match ever.
Oh, nice.
So I'm happy that I did that. It's a pretty historical place, and of course I didn't know it at the time. I just heard of rifles only. I'm like, all right, let's go. But now I've got to know Jacob pretty well, and he was on my podcast. I mean, I haven't released it yet, but had a pretty nice chat with him. Kind of told me the whole history of rifles only and where it's coming from and where it's going. And where it's going, it's more exciting than anything. So that's fun.
I bet. No, Jacob Bynum, he was a great guy then. But yeah, back then it was like literally one bunkhouse. They had a shooting tower, and they had some movers and stuff like that. I mean, it was mind blowing for a 20-something-year-old dude out there for the first time. I was taking a civilian sniper course and then on a really good shooting facility. But again, I've seen some pictures and videos and clips and stuff right how it is now, and man, that thing looks like shooting Disneyland for sure.
Oh yeah,
I got a
it's
question
fun.
here from Richie Futrell. Do you like F class or PRS?
Well, I like them both, and they're different, and that's one thing that when I say you, I mean me or others should think about. you can't judge one sport. You can't compare the two. I think it's a skill that you should at least explore. Yeah, F class, it is tedious. You have, because the target is freaking small. So it is, right?
Mhm.
But if you can bring your, for example, if you're a PRS shooter and you get a chance to go shoot an F class match, go shoot it and just see how your rifle really stacks up against, F class rifles, and see if your rifle really is tuned as good as you think it is. What about you? How well are you tuned for reading the wind? F class is a wind reading game, and wind reading is applicable everywhere. It doesn't matter what type of competition it is.
Yep.
Wind reading is the name of the game. That's really what separates the winners from the also rans. So yes, so I'm going to say yes. Anytime you have a chance to go learn how to read the wind, you should take it.
Absolutely.
So to answer his question, I obviously prefer F class simply because I'm kind of I'm pod committed, right?
Yeah.
But I do shoot PRS is fun to me because it is, we talked about 3 different shooters. I just prepare to go shoot. Like, I don't have to worry about winning. I just oh man, like I went to rifles only. I'm like, which rifle do I have ammo for? Oh, my 6BR. Man, I just threw that in the foundation stock. I've never shot this thing at a competition. I haven't shot the dope. I don't care. Let's go. I would never do that in F class at the level that I'm trying to shoot at. But for PRS, I don't care. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? And I had a hell of a lot of fun. So, I'm having a lot more fun because that's the shooter that I am in PRS.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, while we got you here again, this is live, so throw up some questions. Jay, if you will, go through there and let's include some of these. There's been a bunch of questions.
There's been a bunch, yeah.
Jay's been failing us left and right.
Well,
He didn't want to interrupt.
I didn't want to interrupt.
I'm
There's a lot of
sorry,
good
people. I've
information.
been
Bone.
trying to replace
God
him.
bless.
we'll find some. One of them was the question I asked. I know.
Oh, they took your question.
How y'all doing tonight?
How
We're
y'all
doing good.
doing?
Kids. So Brandon.
Skids had a good one. I remember seeing it.
I think it was the one that asked the one that I asked.
So you stole
Go
his
down
question?
a little more. I did.
Stole his question.
Here's a good one when we were talking about harmonically tuned barrels.
Click that up
Jeff
there.
Hahn's question.
Yep. That is a good question.
Says, Eric, what are your thoughts on TACOM HQ structured barrels and their claim to have created a harmonically dead barrel?
I haven't personally used one, but I know some F-class guys that have. And harmonically dead,
Quite the
it
claim.
sounds like a good idea. And I'm sure it is. However, that means it is not tunable. And if you're not happy with how it performs, you're done. You can't.
SOL.
Right.
You're SOL. And now you just spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get this thing. So those things are very expensive. Then he had to modify his rifle because the barrels are way bigger. And then once he finally got through all that, it seemed like it would shoot everything through it, but it was all unacceptable. It was very good for most people. It would be great. For F-class, it was not good enough. So that's that.
Interesting.
A little bit before the podcast, we were talking about how performance and overall precision has really increased over the last 10 years or so. We're basically talking about how a half inch or a six a point a 0.6 0.75 MOA at hundreds at one time was good for F class, and obviously that has changed dramatically. What do you think are some of the biggest contributors to those increases in precision overall, and just having smaller groups?
Well, bullet design has come a long way. The whole burger hybrid revolution has really changed the game. But I think more than that is the mental game. once you see somebody do really well, then it kind of opens the door and it moves that limit wall, right?
Moves
The
the
governor.
standard.
Yeah, it moves that governor as to how well you can do, moves it farther out, and you go, oh crap, okay, there's more left in me. There's a lot more. I thought I was at the ceiling, and all of a sudden this guy just moved it, and I'm like, oh, I guess I better get better. So they go and they try this, that, or the other, and boom, they get better. But simply the fact of knowing that it can be done helps, right? So in F class, the record when I started was a 199.15. That means nobody had ever shot a clean target, meaning 20 shots inside of 1 MOA at 1,000 yards. Nobody had ever done it. The best they could have, the best they had done at the time was 199, which means
What year was that, Eric?
2007.
Okay.
Which means out of those 20 shots, one of them was outside the 1 MOA, but 15 were inside the half MOA. That's what the 15X means, right? Fast forward to like 2013 or so. I think that's when it happened. Maybe sooner. Charles Ballard shoots at 200 with 13 X's. And all of a sudden, it's never been done. Nobody's ever shot cleans in competition. Now he did it. It'll never be broken, right? And then Danny Biggs comes around, and he shoots at 200 with 15 X's. And he did it in Phoenix. It was dead calm, and he shot it. And a lot of people were happy, but some people were saying, "Well, yeah, but it was dead calm." And I go, "Yeah, but only he was able to do it." So what? Well, the next day, it's freaking windy, and he shoots it again at 215. Now he does it in the wind, right? So all of a sudden, it's never been done before. Now he does it twice. It may have been on the same day or at least a day apart, but now he did it. Now he done it twice, and now guess what? Everybody starts shooting 215s, right? Well, first everybody started shooting cleans after the first clean happened. Well, then it gets moved to a 217. David Gosnell shoots a 217. That means out of those 20 shots, 17 hit half MOA. And now everybody's like, oh, well, all of a sudden 215s happen, seem like every weekend, right? Something that had never happened before. Well, then the 217 gets broken by Norm Harold, and he shoots a 200 with 22 X's. He shot all 20 shots inside the half MOA ring. That means you get to keep going. So he shot 2 more.
It's like bowling when you get a strike at the end.
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
So now it's 22 X's. We know it's been done. So now they've shot 19 X's multiple times. And it's because, I think, and it's the same equipment. When Ballard did it to when Norm Harold did it, it's pretty much the same bullets, same everything. Nothing
So you're saying
has.
it's the mental capacity of knowing that it can be done created the
That's
new
a
standard.
big. I believe that's a big reason for it. And also, right? If just like I said earlier, if my rifles are not shooting cleans in competition, I don't take them. I keep working on them.
Mhm.
Before, when nobody was shooting cleans, guess what? I didn't expect them to shoot cleans
Mhm.
because I didn't think it could be done, right? So now it better be shooting clean targets, and so everything changes, right? I'm working on the loads a little more. I'm tuning the rifles a little more. Plus knowledge. I mean, a lot of knowledge. Social media, internet, information gets shared so much faster nowadays.
Yep.
Like when I started, we didn't have hybrid bullets. We did not anneal brass. We didn't have bullet pointers. We didn't turn brass. We didn't do any of that. And now all that, it's kind of a back to the blueprint. Oh, all those guys are winning and cleaning targets, and they're all using, for example, Burger bullets. Well, I guess I'm going to use Burger bullets. Well, they're all using Brooks, Barline, or Krieger barrels. Well, I guess I better get one of those, right? Well, they're all using Borden actions or they're using Kelby actions, or they're using bat actions, right? Or defiance, whatever. They'll
Sure.
look and say, well, I guess I better get one of those, right? But and now you have all these gunsmiths that you can just go to them and say, hey, I want you to build me a rifle that I can win with. Okay, here's the build sheet. All right, let's go, right? And now and then you have people like me that are sharing all the information, right? So now you have the rifle, you have the hardware, I give you the software, you put them together, boom,
Yeah.
you're there, right? Whereas before the software wasn't available because we had F-class 1. V1, but it had a lot of bugs in it. Nobody could shoot clean targets with that software, right? And as the software keeps getting upgraded and now we're at F-class, I don't know what version we're at, but if whatever version you use of that software, you're going to be able to shoot perfect scores, and just in 2015, so in F-class we shoot 60 shots at 1,000 yards, 20 in the morning, 20 about 11 a.m. and then the other ones you shoot about 1 or 2 p.m. Nobody was shooting 600s. That's 3 cleans in a row. 60 shots in a 1 MOA target without losing a single shot. That was not being done. In 2015, I came close. I shot a 599. I only dropped 1 shot all day. David Mann in 2015, he managed to do the first one ever at 600 at 1,000 yards. This is 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, Mark Walker does it. It had never been done. Never even thought about being done. David Mann does it. 2 weeks later, Mark Walker does it. And now there's been tons of them shot. You know what I mean? So I think it's also that software version keeps getting updated, and that knowledge gets passed around, and people know what to do, what equipment to do, and what to do with it. And it's just better.
Do you think people are more, going back to that time frame, do you think more people are more apt to share their experience or knowledge than they used to be? Because that's one thing that it always seemed like to me with long range shooters in general. Going back again, I went to sniper school in like 2004, 2003 actually, and then I started looking at the civilian long range community, and everybody seemed to be very tight with information back then, keeping everything close to the chest. I don't know if that was just my experience, or did you experience that same thing?
I was warned multiple times when I had my YouTube channel. They're like, "You're giving away too much. You're giving away." Yep. And I said, "I don't care. I'll give it away. And if they can beat me with my own info, that means they're a better shooter that day. They're not going to beat me all the time with my own information." Because
right.
I said, but even if I give them the information, right?
They have to implement it.
Exactly. It's like your rifle, right? Like if you give me everything you know about being a sniper, for example, I'm not gonna immediately be better than you, because you have the experience, right? And that's the way I looked at it. Like, and even if I give you all
there's so much nuance to all of that too, that you may not even realize to share if there's so many things that you're doing at that individual level in between all those big information points too, and applying that.
Forget all that. Most people don't even listen. For one, most people 100%. Won't even listen.
You're right.
That's number one.
Yeah.
So that you just kicked out like 98% of the people that are listening to what I'm telling them. They're not even gonna whatever. My buddy said that he's wrong. Okay. We were drinking beer with my buddy, and he said he can hit a paper plate 100 yards, and so Eric's wrong. Fine. Don't listen. So there goes 98%. So you're only having to worry about 2%, right? And those 2%, half of them at least are not going to want to put in the work because
Right.
they're going to find out that the secret to success is that there is no secret.
It's the work.
It's the work. And it's like, I'm going to tell you what you need to do, but it's still going to be a lot of work. So half of those are not going to want to do it, at least. So now we're down to 1%, right? And, and if I only have to worry about 1%, bring it,
Right.
But also, I don't worry about getting beat by people that I've helped. What I really worry about is how many people got frustrated because they didn't have half the knowledge that I have and left and never came back. That's the ones that I'm worried about.
Yeah,
if I can get them some information that can help them get excited about the game and keep doing it and learn it and get excited and then pass that information to their buddies and get them involved. That's really the people that I worry about. The ones that are going to beat me with my own info, it's happened. Don't get me wrong. And we've become very good friends because guess what? We think alike. And once they get to my level, listen, somebody who's willing to listen to me and take my blueprint, they're simply going to use it as a stepping stone. So when they get above me, then guess what? Now I have someone that can help me, right? Because I help them. And all of a sudden we have this great relationship and now we're both getting better, right? So I don't worry about that. I worry about those that because they can't get that information, they get frustrated and they leave.
No, I'm with you, man. That's why I started this channel. That's why I started this business. I love shooting all types. Long range is definitely my favorite, but pistol, rifle, carbine. I love the tactics. I love teaching people self-defense, all the things, medical. I love all that. And I guess part of it is like, come on, man. If you just try this, you'll love it too. And I'm the same way. I want to give people the tools and the knowledge and to not make the mistakes that I have made. And, going back to even equipment, I know people get so hung up on equipment and we can,
oh God.
Well, we can say, oh, equipment doesn't matter, but it does.
It does.
And then on top of that, people get like, I don't know what to buy. And Summer will tell you, long before I ever started Paramount Tactical Solutions, I bought all kinds of gear, was constantly switching it out, was constantly trying. I love that too. I love gear. I'm a gear nerd. I love the little nuanced things, the little tech things, all those things that, and then you go through, because even still to this day, I look at a piece of kit, whatever it might be, a scope, a freaking, whatever it is, a sling, doesn't matter. And I'm like, oh man, that looks good. That looks like that's the next new jam. And then you get it and then you put it through its paces and you realize it's junk. And then it's like, hey man, we spend a lot of time. We spend a lot of time buying gear, testing gear, and we only carry gear that we test. And with that being said, I will tell you this. What is funny, and I don't know if you experienced the same thing, Eric, a long time, all I did, because we were first and foremost primarily a training company. That's what we did. We didn't sell anything. All I wanted to do was train people. And it got to the point where I constantly got questions of, Gary, what do you recommend for this? What do you recommend for this? I'm like, well, this is what well, why don't you carry it?
Well, people would show up with all sorts of
100%. 100%.
I can only imagine.
Contraptions.
Contraptions.
And Jay knows from that was, he was there from pretty much day one, but people would show up with like, dude, that's not even safe what you're using. So we started carrying gear so we could sell them or rent it to them just for the sake of it, and it grew. But one thing is funny is I started getting serious about YouTube around COVID because we had all these clients we weren't able to train, and I started wanting to put out information and training. And yeah, training, you'll get some people in there, but what brings people training videos. But what brings people to the channel, man, is freaking gear. And that's fine. I will show you some gear reviews. I like doing it anyhow. I'll give you the cotton candy. But the whole time, my job is to, hey, you know what? You need to get training. You need to get out there and apply this stuff. You need to practice this stuff. So hopefully we're using that. But people love gear. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, you definitely need to balance it out and get some training
I think, and this is my unexpert opinion, but I think a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some people like gear because they see it as the tool to make them the shooter they want versus
Yes.
putting in the time and effort to
They're
train,
100%
to learn. Because that's the harder part. It's easier to just go buy something and hope that it makes you the shooter you want to be.
Well, there's
Yep.
another side to gear too, Summer.
What's that?
And some people out there, they buy gear just like women buy jewelry and their designer purses too.
Mhm.
I mean, they're buying. You know what? You throw
you want to look cool while you're doing
you throw
it.
the nice range bag
That's the
over your
first rule.
shoulder when you're walking in. You throw on one of the cool neon Lancer mags. You know what I mean? That's
Hey, and again,
you know what I mean?
You know what? There's nothing wrong
There's
with
nothing.
those.
I'm not
those
saying there's
things.
anything wrong with it.
But
I'm
that's-
saying there's some
that's the
people
other
that.
side of it.
But it is.
I was just saying.
Now
that
I
I'm
see
not
why
saying
he
there's
doesn't talk much.
Yeah.
Everybody shoots me down.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with liking the gear or buying the gear or wanting the gear or even thinking the gear does help you. I just think it doesn't need to be, it shouldn't be a substitute for learning.
100%.
Oh,
For sure.
I
Well,
agree.
it's not
Oh,
That's
hardware
what I'm
and
saying.
software, right?
Yes,
I call
hardware
it
and
hardware
software.
and software. You
I
can't
mean, look good, learn good.
That hardware will just sit there and do nothing if you don't have the
Learn
software to
good.
operate it.
listen. Nobody gets excited about the owner's manual.
Right.
right.
What? I didn't even know most stuff comes with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Pictures only,
So,
please.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm guilty of it. I call it the manufacturer's opinion on how I should use the equipment.
There we go.
Well, first of all, everybody knows that if you have to read the owner's manual, you're decreasing testosterone by 80%.
Well, we can go back
That's
to
a
talking
fact.
about Jay when he bought his Google Nest for his house, and I get a phone call, and he was like, "Hey, you come help me do
I made a
this?" I was like, "Yeah, read the directions. What's the first direction say? Take a picture of your old one." I was like, "Did you
I
take
did
a
not.
picture, Jay?" Nah. I was like,
I pulled it straight off all the wires, had no clue where anything went. I was like,
"There's a perfect owner's
I
manual
made a
story."
Yeah,
But
We
he,
all do- we all do it.
preserved his manliness.
yeah.
I preserved his manliness.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
I said, Chris, take a picture of yours. Hopefully the same guy did the wires.
We got her. We got her back.
So, Eric, besides long range shooting, any other disciplines of shooting or any other guns and gear that you like or interest you?
as a matter of fact, yes. Just lately, again, it was all F class for over a decade. That's it. I got into F class because of hunting, and then once I started F class, like I quit hunting, I gave up my deer lease, everything. Just like this is what I'm doing. But at SHOT Show, I was walking by, just walking through everything, and I see this just magnificent rifle, and I said, "Okay, what is this?" Well, it was an air rifle, and it had the Masterpiece Arms chassis, and it had.
Oh,
I mean, this thing was just sexy, man. Air Force air guns. And I talked to the owner, and long story short, I got me an air rifle. So I just got that. Well, then I did the Rock Chuck Olympics, right? And we're shooting ARs and pistols, and I'm like, man, I'm not very good at this stuff. I need to get gooder at it, So now I got a pistol. I mean, I had a pistol, but now I have another one, and an AR, and I'm gonna do more of that. I actually was talking to Jacob, and I said, "Okay, Jacob, I'm gonna come over there. I'm gonna bring my entire team, and we're gonna go take a class from you because I think it's important that we all do some training, and it'll be a good team building exercise. But I want to get. It's fun, man, to just grab a AR or a pistol and just go shoot.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's the latest that I'm excited about. I'm gonna get into that.
What I'm curious, what caliber air rifle did you get?
25.
Nice. Yeah, I've been having an air rifle itch myself. I was trying to look at between the FX.
It's an investment.
It is investment. It's an investment.
Eric, can I ask you what pistol that you bought and in what caliber?
Well, I got the Canic.
45 and
No, it was a 9.
45.
Canic 9.
Canic 9?
The
Yeah,
Canics
that's
are
the one
really
that we
popular
used
right now.
at the Rock Chuck Olympics, and man, that thing was sweet. And I'm like,
Nice.
gotta get me one.
What chassis is on that air rifle? What MPA chassis is that? The Matrix chassis or?
Yeah, the Matrix,
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
modified it for for that air rifle. So when you put it all
Yeah, they
together,
actually-
you don't even see the tank.
They actually got air rifle chassis.
You
now.
need to
Oh,
get
no.
you need to get a couple of them in.
I do. I do.
3 or 4.
I don't think my MPA sells
Well, you need to find out.
the complete thing. I think they sell the chassis, but
Well, we can
either
work
way,
that out.
point is easy
3 or
thing.
4.
We need to get 3 or 4 of
Oh,
those.
Jesus.
Absolutely.
It runs on air, baby. They're cheap.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
cheap. Don't
You
worry
know,
about it.
yeah.
Jeff Hahn has a question here. Eric, what are your thoughts on composite ammunition?
What is composite ammunition?
All right.
There's my no, seriously, no.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Is that the plastic stuff?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I've never used it. So, Jeff, go
Jeff-
ahead.
Jeff,
throw it on
clarify
there.
what-
Clarify what you're
enlighten.
talking about. I wanted to know the answer too.
What is it?
He'll come back with something. He's
Yeah.
typing.
I think
He's a knuckle
actually.
dragger, so he doesn't tap.
You mentioned
he
it
doesn't type
earlier,
fast.
something to reduce.
Jeff's a former SF guy too.
Yeah, he's typing
So
with 2 fingers
he's
over
typing
there.
with his elbows right now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
grunting.
I guess he means yes. That's a plastic ammunition.
Well, that's a Jason Sponsor talking about Jerry Michalik. I saw a couple of videos you shooting with Jerry Michalik. That must been an interesting
That was
experience.
probably awesome.
Yeah, man, he was awesome. That dude is awesome. He's teaching me how to shoot a pistol, and he's like, man, you're good. You're pretty good, because I was shooting that dueling tree pretty good. And I said, all right, well, can I go against you? Like, sure. Just when I was feeling good.
He's
Yeah,
like,
this
bring
is
it.
I love watching him train other people. He's just like, look, all you got to do now is shoot faster.
yeah.
Faster. Like, oh, yeah, no, I didn't think about that.
And,
I didn't think about that.
And I
All you gotta
said,
do
well,
is
Jerry,
center that target and shoot faster.
Yeah.
I said, I said, now that you kind of trained me, can I go against you on this dueling tree? Like, sure, and like, ready? Yeah, go. And I'm drawing my gun, and I'm putting the dot on the first target, and all I hear is "Bap!" And I'm like, wait. And he was done.
Wait, I wasn't ready.
Yeah. It's insane.
I'll tell you, man.
Oh, that's
the
awesome.
way that guy's physiology must be between the information going between his brain and his fingers and his eyes is
Like some-
unbelievable.
I
You
think
got
it
some
just uses
extra
the
nerve
force.
connections or
I
something
don't know.
there.
That
Just
guy
the
So,
force.
so
is so
so-
fast.
I was comparing him against me, obviously, right? And I don't have a frame of reference, because I'm like, well, I don't even know where I stack up. Obviously, way slow compared to Jerry, right? So then I meet Nils, who's a world champion pistol shooter at the Rock Trick Olympics, and I'm talking to him, and I said, hey, you shoot against Jerry sometimes? He goes, yeah, well, I do 3-gun and all that. I said, okay. I said, when you shoot your pistols, like, are you as fast as Jerry? Is that a common thing? And he goes, no. I'm pretty sure Jerry's alien. like nobody's fast. I'm like,
Yeah, there isn't.
Nobody is fast as him. I don't care what gun you put in his hand. He can make that thing work faster than God ever intended that thing to work.
yeah.
It is unbelievable.
Speaking of that, we just got in one of the new P365 Rose editions that his daughter put out in collaboration with SIG. It's a pretty sweet package that came in.
I'm carrying it
Nice.
right now.
It's
Yeah.
It's
In your
pink.
purse.
pink.
You're gonna
I
need
got it in my purse.
He's got it in his prison
His
wallet.
designer purse.
Prison wallet.
prison pocket.
Jeff,
Is
Jeff
that
came
considered a
back from
purse?
yeah.
Right there, my prison purse.
Oh, there's your.
In the Navy, they call it a porthole.
for all the seamen out there.
Port side.
Ew.
Port side.
All right. It allows the changing of the internal design of the casing. Of the external still matches the firearm chamber. Man, I've never heard of that.
Adjusted to dictate the powder burn.
Hmm.
Huh.
Jeff, you need
Wow.
to quit watching those sci-fi shows and thinking that's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Just say
Now,
produces.
Defiance, I had a couple of those P365 comp blackout editions, but both of them already sold. I'll get some more in though.
I'm not saying
they're
I'm not
hard to
saying
get, but-
Jeff bought one, but
Jeff bought one, and then someone else bought one.
that thing he sent me pictures of that thing is sweet.
I know I had to hide them from you, so you didn't keep one.
I know.
Jay Welke.
That's-
Because of Eric sharing his knowledge, I was able to be successful at my first 2 F-class matches.
Oh,
That's
and
awesome.
have hardware to show for it.
Yep.
That's what it's about, folks. Just making the community bigger. Yeah, I don't care what you shoot, how you shoot it. Just start shooting. Get your kids into it. Get your wife, your family. Start doing some med stuff too. Man, just get out there and have fun. It's all about. And when you find somebody to disagree with online, That's okay.
Send it.
Send it. Send it. Send it.
Jason,
Sometimes
have a
I
few.
enjoy talking to haters. I
It
tell
is-
you what, man, the
It is a
haters.
guilty pleasure.
I tell you what, all of our viewers right now, they're getting outworked by the haters because the haters are always leaving comments.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, man, the trolls.
Think
are
about
real.
it.
And the haters love to hit that thumbs down button, but y'all watch the video and love it, and you don't hit the thumbs up. How about we hit the thumbs up from time to time? And you know what, you
Exactly.
haters, hit the thumb
Like-
downs twice because that is a super hate.
I'm glad you went back to your regular voice at the end of that, Gary, because you were like really high for a while.
Did you try
like
to
this
mimic summer? I
It's-
don't know what
haters
happened there.
up in here.
What
and then
happened-
you got back on the
It's
Gary.
it's the Rose edition. It's tickling me in a weird spot.
But
Well, you
but
know.
yeah, I like to mess with them. Like oh dude, I had one the other day. Oh, I took a picture because I was gonna post it.
You got to
That's right.
screenshot
This is
that.
the
'Cause,
good part.
Yeah, because so he said
You want to show it?
he said, what is a yard? Does
Oh,
it have to do anything with useless? Does it have to do anything with the useless things like inch, foot, etc.? And I said, yeah, it gets us to the moon.
Yeah, sometimes I enjoy a good hater debate when you're just sitting there, really not even
Hater debate or just hater
just screwing with them.
beat down?
Just a hater
He-
beat down.
he-
Yeah, I was gonna say you're more of a hater beat down.
I'm very gentle with those people.
It's all good, man.
Me and Jay were just
Tea
talking
Party
about you.
said, I was looking at some of the Rumble comments. Sorry about you lost boys on Rumble, but hey, Gary, move the whiteboard that is behind you to the front, Gary, so he doesn't screw up MOA again. Hey, Jay, go on Rumble and ban that guy.
It's okay, Tea Party, you're safe.
Words confuse me. That's why I'm a mill guy, guys.
Brent
if I can use
Phillips.
mill, anyone can.
Brent Phillips said, I left a comment the other day and a left-wing hater looked up my work Instagram page and called me and left a voicemail calling me names.
Wow.
Damn.
I'm telling you, man, they put in the work.
But
They
he's commenting on someone's YouTube
Holy
page. The left-wing person is calling his work. That's just
That's
taking it to a whole nother
crazy.
level.
Wow.
Oh, speaking of which,
Oh, Paul's got a good
Eric,
question for me and Jay.
Eric, I'm curious your experience on
Mm.
this and thoughts, and if you don't want to talk about it, just tell me to shut up. What has been your experience with the content you produce on YouTube as
Ooh,
far as
good
any
question.
censorship? I'm always curious about that.
Oh, I get demonetized a lot.
Yeah.
That's the little answer we were looking
Yeah.
for.
But I've changed my vocabulary. I call them freedom seeds, freedom seed delivery device, and I found that as long as you don't say any of that in the first minute, then all of a sudden it doesn't matter as much.
Hmm.
Um,
And this
I
is why
did-
asked these
That's good
questions.
info,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's
you
why-
talk about I test everything. I tested YouTube, and I was like, is it what I show or what I say? So I made a video where I'm watering plants, literally,
Mhm.
and I'm going, all right, I'm going to take my AR-15, and it's a freaking watering deal, and I'm like, yeah, I mean my water 15, and oh my god, look at all these bullets, and I'm watering the plants, right? And I'm like, oh, by the way, we just look at all my revolvers, and it was round bales, and let me show you my revolvers, and they had a sprinkler, and I said, oh, let's go check out my my machine gun over here, and the sprinkler sitting there, dude, demonetized automatically. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay, so it's what I say, not what I show. Now, what I show matters, obviously, because that's
Sure.
where.
Yeah.
But so I just had to change what I said, and then I would upload videos with just like description was like the title was like generic, like video 1, right? I upload it, go to the monetization, everything perfectly, 100% monetized. Then I go change the title to gun something, boom, demonetized. And I'm like, okay, so this matters. Okay, got it. And then so now every time, if you notice that PRS video that I just released,
Mhm.
it says PRS in the title, but I was going to put on there, shoot first PRS match at rifles only. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I can't have rifle in the title. So I put it in the thumbnail, big rifles only And I actually took a picture of the sign that said rifles only.
Yeah.
So I'm able to get it in there without actually typing it, right?
it. Yeah.
See, Gary,
So-
this is the Erik Cortina YouTube blueprint.
I know. I'm listening.
Yeah, that's actually
Take notes.
See,
amazing.
Now
notes.
Eric, you got to start a whole nother channel of how to get around the gun censorship.
There you
go. Yeah,
Wow.
no, that's really good. So a curious thing, what was funny was I was like really happy because my MOA sucks. The first video I posted, it was doing really well, and we like hit 8,000. It was monetized. I was like, cool, man. This is a good topic. Very, very clickbait thumbnail up there.
Oh,
everybody that hates
Yeah.
like, MOA sucks. You hurt my feelings. I want to see what this is about. So that was doing good. But then like just today,
Demonetized.
they demonetized it out of the blue, which was really strange. Anyways, it is what it is.
Well, so now we know that YouTube, they use MOA.
Yeah.
That's
Right?
exactly who did it.
Well, I'm almost thinking it might have been something I said in there, or
More than likely.
we've had.
Well, I didn't even finish telling you that the test, right?
Oh,
So
Yeah.
it got demonetized.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, okay, well, this should not have gotten demonetized. If somebody's actually going to watch this video, they would go, oh crap, this was a trap or whatever. He's watering freaking plants. So
Mhm.
then I did the whole, I want a person to review this thing, and it got monetized after. So I somebody is watching sometimes, at least that one time they did, right?
sure.
But again, this was pretty obvious. I think what happens when you request a human review, they'll get somebody to watch it, but somebody that doesn't know guns, so they don't know. They're just going to play it safe and go, no, well, you still demonetized,
Yeah,
But that one, I mean, I'm watering my plants, so it got monetized. So I did all those tests in one video, and then I think I did it again, and but yeah, I've done. I looked. That's what I do. I test everything, and one thing that I learned from Speedy, who was my gunsmithing mentor, he said, assume everything is broken until you check it. So
Yeah.
that's what I always do.
Now, have you ever had any videos flagged or pulled strikes?
I don't think so. No.
It was a curious thing. Like right during SHOT Show this year, I wasn't at SHOT Show, but right around the time of SHOT Show, it was also after a recent shooting. Suddenly, videos that I had up for about a year and a half, 2 years, I got 2 strikes out of the blue. And I was like, man, this is weird. And I was like off of YouTube. You get 2 strikes. I think you're off for 2 weeks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I called, oh God, I'm having this.
Ray.
Ray Helms over at X-Ring. I don't know. Have you ever talked to Ray? He's a great guy. We've also had, he's on
I
X-Ring.
may have. I think I have. I thought yes, I have.
Super nice guy. We actually had Jim Harmer on not too long ago on as well. Seems like a great guy as well. He looked like he was having fun with you guys on the Rock Chuck Olympics.
Yeah, I was talking to him earlier on the phone.
Oh, awesome. Probably vetting me, huh? Hey, you know this guy over here?
He said he didn't know who you were.
He probably did. That guy will jump from freaking podcast to podcast. He doesn't even remember me.
He goes, if anything, he's easy to forget. I said, all right, cool.
Probably so. I hate him now. I'm gonna go unlike all his videos. I'm unsubscribing, Jim. No, but I was actually that happened to me, and I was talking to Ray Helms, and he had the same thing happen. And he said he was talking to a bunch of guys for whatever reason. Right around SHOT Show, there was a YouTube blitz. They went through and just hit everybody with all kinds of stuff. Took down some big channels and things like that. And again, I'm always trying to figure out a strategy to fight these guys.
I know.
I got a question from Bob here. I have a question about truing. Is there a difference in truing a carbon wrap barrel versus a steer barrel?
Steel barrel? Steer barrel?
Steel barrel.
I'm sure he means tuning when he says truing. No, they both vibrate. I'm sure they vibrate differently, but you put a tuner on there and just move it back and forth until, shoot groups until you get kind of what looks good, and then just shoot some more, make sure it's solid. But no, honestly, I've never done a carbon wrap barrel, but I have a lot of customers that have, and they, at the beginning it was like, will it work? And I'm like, dude, here it is, buy it, and if it doesn't, I'll return your money. Just give me some feedback, And they're like, it worked perfectly. I'm like, okay, well, I guess barrel's a barrel.
Oh, that reminds me, something I constantly get hate mail on. Eric, I just want to get your opinion on this. Barrel break-in and lapping rings. I'm curious what your thoughts on either one of those are.
Well, I have a video on my channel on barrel break-in, and you guys, people need to go watch it.
Right.
But I don't do barrel break-in.
So it's a video about nothing?
So I'll tell you the video. So I forget how I did it, but towards the end, I have two doors, right? And one of them says barrel break-in, and the other one says put my member into a meat grinder. And I'm like, where should I go? Where should I go? Right?
What do you mean by member?
And this is why you get demonetized, because you just keep going until it's illegal. But anyway, so I had two doors, right? And I'm trying to decide which one to go to. And then the video cuts to the next. It cuts to me coming out of that door about the meat grinder, and I'm driving and I'm limping, and I go, well, at least I didn't have to break in a barrel, and that's the video.
That's
so
awesome.
But go watch the video.
When given the choice,
That's what he chose.
So now let's get serious about it as to why. Testing, right? I'm like, I always break them in. It's a lot of freaking work. Let me do one without. Let's see how it does. Oh, it's shooting great. Again, once I had a expectation as to what all the barrels were doing, I'm like, I'm going to do one. I'm not going to break this one in and see if it meets the same expectation. Sure enough, it was right there with the others. I'm like, it's shooting the same. Okay, let me do another one. Okay, there it is. Well, then I call the barrel manufacturer and go, hey, let me ask you a question. If you guys have a break-in procedure on your website. If I call you and say my barrel didn't work, it doesn't shoot. I said, and I send it back. Is there a way that you can visually or physically tell if I broke it in? They go, no. I go, then you have no idea if it's broken in or not. He goes, no, there's really no difference in what it looks like. I said, so it doesn't matter. And he goes, well, not really. And I go, then why do you guys have a procedure? He goes, because people expect us to have one. So we give them one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, people are, again,
We get that question all the time. What do we do to break in the barrel?
Or what I get, because I've talked about, I don't believe in barrel break-in, and I've had the same experience as you, Eric. I've had guns I've broken in and guns that I didn't, and it seems like a waste of time and ammo and just cleaning more than I want to. I think there's, I don't know that barrel break-in was ever a thing, but definitely with modern machining and buying good barrels, I don't think that it definitely doesn't matter today. But man, literally there'll be dudes like, oh, I can't trust. Basically, you've lost all credibility with me because you don't believe in barrel breaking. I'm like, bro, you just saw me shoot a freaking MPA rifle, .25 MOA. It's got 20 rounds through it. I mean, whatever you want to do. Like
right,
no
bro.
Cuts or anything. Like, I don't know, but
this is why my podcast is named "Believe the Target." Because we can argue all day, just like that. You should have broke it in. Yeah, let's see what the target has to say.
Yeah.
Well, the target says
It didn't matter.
it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So who are you going to believe?
Well, and I do think there are a lot of barrel manufacturers out there that have a break-in procedure so they can. Another
It's
reason is
expected.
basically
They don't want to lose
deny-
credibility.
Well, I think there's part of that, but I do think there are some out there that have not necessarily barrel makers, but gun companies production companies. I have had clients contact me and they were having an issue with their gun. They called him up and was like, "Oh, well, did you break it in using our procedures?" Well, no, I probably didn't do it.
Warranty
Yeah.
no good.
Your warranty's no good.
Sorry.
So
Kick rocks.
if a gun company asks you, just like
Say
Eric
yes.
said, number one, they can't tell.
Always say yes.
And the answer is yes, I follow that to the exact. Lapping rings. I'm curious to, again, I kind of have a philosophy, but that's based on my experience and what I do. I'm curious to see if F-class shooters still lap rings.
So that means you don't.
No, I don't. I definitely don't.
Well, this goes back to the assume everything is broken until you check it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the short answer is no, I do not lap rings. But Speedy kind of gets on me every time because he's like, "Did you at least check it?" No, I didn't. Well, you know what I mean? And that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, lap them if you have to, right? I had hack on spur on my podcast, spur
Mhm.
mounts.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him that question. What do you think he said?
I would assume that they don't advise lapping the rings.
He said, lap them if you need to.
Hmm.
He says, because my rings are perfectly straight. But if your rail isn't, he goes, I just don't want, you should make sure that there is no issues with your equipment. And if
Sure.
if there is, you should address it.
Yeah.
And that's,
Well,
so that's the answer.
I'm sending that mount back before I start
Yeah.
lapping. I'll be honest with you and
Well,
try again.
Yeah, but this is what he said, right? And again, I have opinions, but then I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I have their phone numbers. I just call them up and go, "Hey, Mr. Spur, should I
Mhm.
lap rings or not?" Well, check them, and if they need to be lap them. But so I don't. But then I'll go do my box test and all that, and if everything's tracking perfectly, I don't worry about it. But
Sure.
this goes back to if I have a system that all of a sudden it's not tracking, there's binding somewhere. Well, I got to check. You know what I mean? So I'm not against lapping rings, at all, if they need to be done. Speedy is he laps and beds and everything because he wants to make sure that everything's just perfect, and I don't have anything against that either.
No, I
But-
don't have again. My concern, or again, I think manufacturing has come a long way because again, when I was getting into long range back in the early 2000s, man, if you didn't lap rings, you didn't know what you were doing. So we lapped everything. And I will say, I believe just from what I see that manufacturing with quality companies, good companies putting out good gear. The quality control has really gone through the roof. And honestly, in my opinion, I think most of the time, people that end up lapping a ring will probably end up doing more damage than they're doing good, in my opinion.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's a different question.
Yeah.
Who should lap the rings?
100%.
That's the follow-up. Well,
Yeah.
not if you've never lapped the ring. You can lap rings and learn how to do it and whatever, but if you've never lapped, like you said, well, first thing I'm gonna do is send it back if it needs it. Well, that's probably the wisest thing to do because you may have mounted it incorrectly.
Mhm.
I'm not saying you, but whoever, right?
Sure.
And
And things do go wrong with manufacturing, no matter
Yeah.
how good a company is.
Yeah, but I'm not against lapping rings. I don't personally do it, but I wouldn't be against it.
Yep. Well,
But I would
mean,
bed the rings. I wouldn't simply lap. I would lap and bed.
and bet them. Yeah.
Getting to a last couple questions here. One from Brent Phillips here. Curious on your thoughts of one-piece scope mount rings versus two-piece. Does it make enough difference in F-class PRS?
So F-class, we all use two-piece mounts. I mean, two-piece rings, right? That was the norm. But I've since went to one-piece in F-class. And now there's a lot of people moving to one-piece just because they're more rigid, right? And if the two-piece are good enough, the one-piece are better.
Yeah.
So
Well, and if there's any alignment issues, it can it can compensate for any alignment issues of the actual rail itself that you're mounting
Correct.
to.
Yeah. So
And it,
so we're going to one piece. I mean, everything has a one piece on mine. At PRS, F class, all one
now,
piece.
what originally, what was the mindset? It sounded like people were almost avoiding one piece. So what was the mindset of, hey, we're sticking with two piece? Was it just what was working and what they were used
It's
to?
what everybody used, right? It's the blueprint, right? Follow the
Mhm.
blueprint, and then it's like, okay, well, let's see if by doing this we can improve. And there's some scopes out there that don't track very well in two piece rings, and we believe is they get, again, if your rails, if everything's out of alignment,
Sure.
and because again nobody laps anymore,
Mm-hmm.
they're putting the scope in a bind.
Yep.
So you all of a sudden you put that same scope in a one piece mount and it tracks perfectly. So yeah, I think the one piece are better. Just everything's more aligned.
So to answer your question, I think it was Jason that asked that. So to answer your question, Jason, if you want your stuff to work, buy a one piece.
It was Brent Phillips.
Yeah,
Brent Phillips.
that was interesting to me too, because born and raised in the country, you always just buy the 2-piece scoop mounts. But like where you were showing me that MPA, you're putting it on there, that single billet milled 1-piece scoop mount, that makes perfect sense. I never even thought about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to broaden your
Well,
horizons.
Eric explained it a little better.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's true.
Appreciate you, Eric.
That's why I brought him on.
SEAL Team Sniper wants to know when you're going to start shooting
Yeah,
ELR.
a bunch of people did, I think.
Well, I did. Rock Chuck Olympics.
He shot the LR with a 5.56, folks.
Yeah. Man, I don't know that I'm going to, at least not anytime soon. I get asked all the time, Paul Phillips, Chase, they're like, come on, man, let's go shoot. And I'm like,
Talk about an expensive sport right there. Between the guns they're using and then the travel, trying to find a good place to shoot, true ELR. That's a tough. I would love to do that, man. If there was some close, say that I'm, got some record on shooting 2,000 yards plus, whatever is the current record for whatever caliber. Sounds like a lot of fun, but man, that is.
I was going to ask, what caliber do you usually running on that?
I mean, they're running like 4.57 shy tack. They're running some
crazy
like
stuff.
big stuff.
$15 rounds each.
You need a sponsor for that.
Woo! Yeah.
Well, now they have,
Let me fix my headphones.
Paul
God.
Phillips was saying they're having turned brass, like billet brass. It's all CNC machine. The
Well,
entire
I know they do that with the projectiles. I know.
No,
So-
the brass.
Well, I was saying
billet
they'll do that with projectiles too. They
Oh
actually
yeah,
turn-
that's old news.
yeah.
Now they talk about
Oh,
brass,
yeah.
and
I'm
he was
sorry.
showing it to me, and
Keep my old
I
news
think
to
he
myself.
was like, I'm gonna say
You do
$20 a piece of brass.
Jeez.
What? Oh my!
Can't
Yeah.
hide it.
You know what, Gary? We need to get into billet brass.
Well, yeah, we can make some billet brass. We can do that. I did mean to ask you this
The
earlier.
lathe.
Speaking of brass, Eric, we talked about the fact that you don't clean it. Do you anneal your brass?
Oh yeah, every time.
Okay, that's what I figured.
And so, all right. So I'm gonna answer the questions that are about to be asked. Yes, I anneal it dirty because I don't clean it.
Uh-huh.
Right. Yes, I run it inside my die dirty, right? Because I don't clean it. Like it's going whatever you're thinking. Yes, dirty brass. Yes. Now
Imagine a homeless man that shoots.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh,
that's what he's
dude.
doing in there under the bridge.
So yes, dirty brass. And is it gonna ruin my die? Possibly. But I'm like, okay, how many hours am I saving? Can I buy another die with the time?
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. I can buy many
Yep.
dies.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
so
I've gotten
By
a
the
lot
way,
better at.
Cortina precision dies coming soon.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Oh.
I'll buy the first set, or I'm sure there's a long line, but I'll definitely buy a set.
But-
I'd love to.
Yes,
Do that.
I do it all dirty. I use dye wax. So when I'm applying the dye wax, if it's really dirty, I run a rag, kind of clean it. But that's it. And then after I size it, I take a rag and wipe all the lube off. Yes, it takes forever, but it's still way faster than having to
Absolutely.
clean the brass. Here's the funny thing: when I shoot PRS, everybody has their brass perfectly marked and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's the dirty one that's not marked.
The homeless. Who's this homeless man?
Seriously.
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 Well,
They're
everybody
like,
knows
oh,
who it is.
that one's mine. You know.
No,
but-
I tell you what, that is one thing from this conversation I will definitely be taking
Yeah.
is I'm stopped and cleaning my brass. No, that's a huge, like you said, it's just an unbelievable time saver. Not having to do
last question here, Jeff Hahn.
Last question.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on muzzle devices and barrel harmonics?
Oh, they
For
matter.
those of us going between suppressed and unsuppressed.
Yeah. Well, they matter. Oh, obviously. They
Sure.
the suppressor is there's this possibility for those out there that are going to say, well, mine, it just changes point of impact, but it doesn't change the group size. Yes, there's always a possibility, right? Because it's a sine wave
Sure.
that they're both going to be aligned, but more than likely, either it's going to shoot better with a suppressor or it's going to shoot better with a brake, right? Or it's going to shoot better with nothing, right? There's always the possibility of that happening. But yeah, it's a thing. What I tell people that are using my tuner brake, I'm like, they ask me that, and they say, why shoot suppress and I shoot, unsuppressed with a brake, but I hand load. I go, okay, perfect. Work up your loads with the suppressor, and then put the tuner brake on there. And if it doesn't shoot, adjust it with a tuner. And now you have the best of both worlds, right? So
That's a good point.
So yeah, it matters, obviously.
Well, listen, Eric. Listen, man. I again, it's a just awesome experience. Just getting the chance to talk to you. I appreciate you making the time for us. It was an awesome conversation. I learned a lot, and it was great to get to know you on a more personal level a little bit. But again, we appreciate everybody out there. For those of our followers and all that good stuff, if you're not, make sure you go follow his. As a matter of fact, down in the description, I have all of his social media. His website. Go out there, show him some love, go get some likes on his video, go check out his videos. He's one of the main sources that I go to for information on social media. Just love everything he has to say. He takes a very common sense approach to everything, as you guys can kind of see tonight. But Eric, stay on here. We'll say goodbye at the end. But listen, folks, we really appreciate you watching, and make sure you join us again every Wednesday here at 7 p.m. Eastern time, live as always. But until next time, stay armed, stay ready, and we'll talk to you soon.